There's almost no point for me to make a TikTok video or anything like that health related. It would be better to talk about something scandalous or, some gossip than health related items. I'm focused on building, my own society basically from the monetary system to security to how we're like interacting, everything. Our power lies in what we give our energy to. And I refuse to give them any fuel. I refuse to give them any money, really, for the most part, through taxation, all that. The apocalypse doesn't mean the end. It just means everything's being revealed, right? Right now, we're seeing all the corruption, all the problems, all the things that are wrong. And that's good. It's good to see, to not be disillusioned, to see where the faults are, to see the problems. The trap is to stay stuck on the problem or to grumble about the problem and not fix yourselves on solutions.
Right, a big welcome back to the Live, Love, Learn podcast with me, your host, Catherine Edwards. And today's episode is someone I have been wanting to bring back for a long time. She's a busy lady, but she's one of the most grounded, no-nonsense voices in natural health. I've also met this lady in person, and I'll tell you, there's a complete difference. When you meet people in person, you can feel and see if people are walking the talk, and Amanda absolutely does. And she's also been heavily banned or restricted across most major platforms, so that should really make people pause. Now, today we're going to be talking about all sorts of subjects, and we're absolutely not going to pretend that we're right about everything and you have to agree with us on everything. But it should really start to raise some bigger questions for all of us about what are we actually allowed to say about health, the body, self-responsibility, sovereignty in 2026, and what are the things that are getting people silenced yet again. So I'm joined by Amandha Vollmer, a mother, naturopathic doctor, biotech science graduate, and a leading educator around DMSO, and the creator of Yummy Doctor, Yum Naturals, and DMSO Store. So Amanda, a big welcome back. I want you to tell people a little bit, just to start with, for people that haven't seen your work, which won't be many, but there's always a few new people which we welcome with open arms, a little bit about the main purpose of your work at the moment. And then I have to ask you the question, what has got you banned everywhere?
Well, thanks, Catherine. Good to see you again. I love having our talks. Well, my MO is really about sovereignty in all aspects of life, but very focused on health sovereignty, health freedom, and making one's own health choices through truth, meaning proper disclosure of information. Because when you have a one-sided medical cult basically running the show, it's very difficult, as has been proven by my efforts, to get the information across or out there for people so they can make the right choices for themselves. Because really, and as you know, it's about individual medicine, because there's a similarity, of course, but there's also a uniqueness, and both really need to be honored. And with the building of my own private community and taking my businesses into the private with, private membership, this has afforded me the ability to continue to help people. And I would say since the COVID scamdemic that the amount of health information has come, really under deeper scrutiny and clamped down harder upon, to the point where there's almost no point for me to make a TikTok video or anything like that health related. It would be better to talk about something scandalous or, some gossip than health related items. And they've targeted me, so it's difficult. I've seen other people say things that I've said, but I get sort of this the growl, and they get to continue for some reason. So I still haven't got off the blacklist there. Recently it was Facebook and Instagram. All my accounts were just wiped out in one fell swoop, and they don't give you any way to communicate with them, to
So
appeal. I mean, when you
I
really
had that
think about
last
it,
year and I've never
yeah,
got my account back. Yeah,
yeah, they don't care. I
yeah,
mean, we could sue them. There are class action lawsuits, and I am considering it, because I was on Facebook over 20 something years and I lost all my contacts, connections, and history. And it's traumatizing, actually. And you don't really realize when you're engaging with this sort of apps, another company, how much power they have over your life and
yeah,
how they can ruin you with no consequences on their side of things. I remember I used to have, way back when, I used to have Hotmail accounts and I used to have Yahoo accounts, email accounts. I started to move into Gmail, I think, soon after, and I was focused more there. And they sent me an email that I didn't check for a long time, and it said that they were going to redo their servers, so they were going to wipe everything out and that I'd have to download everything, and there was this complicated, so whatever. But I missed the deadline, and so I came back into my Hotmail accounts to find them wiped clean. All my important email trails, all that kind. They just the warning wasn't like really obvious, and it was in
yeah.
my junk mail anyway. But like they just do this shit. So it's in a way it's freeing, and in another way it's traumatizing. So that's why I'm focused on building, my own society, basically, from the monetary system to security to how we're like interacting, everything. We're just moving it to our own servers, and I'm less and less offering my free data to these corporations who profit off of me and then dare to shadow ban or even full out ban me as they've profited off of me. So I'm not getting rewards in that way. I think our business models are going to start to change, and we're going to bring back in-person communities and a little
Yeah.
more close to home stuff, because they're destroying our international trade. We've just gone through tariff hell. We've lost, most of our revenue from the United States, which was about 85% really Trump's fault per se. It's our idiots that run Canada into the ground. They want bankruptcy. And I'm just going to pause because my internet's being silly. I'll
Yeah,
wait.
it's frozen. So perhaps switch back onto the other internet.
Was it okay up to that freezing?
Yeah, well, it kept froze for a bit and then
Oh,
came back on.
let me just make sure. One second.
So we've just been having a few internet problems. We'll talk about that. Will come on later. But you were saying about the tariffs and moving more to more local community work again, which actually, do you think, Amanda, with all this censorship, do you think sometimes, even though it's really, really awful, it can also push us to do things that are so important for our own survival, really, anyway, to get back into those local, more in-person communities?
I think so. What I see is a shift, a pivot, and so when evil does its evilly things, instead of just reacting to them, what I found is that we can pivot. There's always options for us. There's always a way to. There's always a workaround, or a loophole, or another. So instead of making it feel like, oh, they're defeating us, we're never going to overcome, switch it to go, oh, there's a test coming up. Let's see how resilient our business is. Let's see how we can, innovate differently and shift our focus. Instead of looking at it as an attack, we've learned to look at it as an invitation to blooming our creativity. And if you're in business anyway, your markets are always changing, and the thing that was once new is now older. The thing that was once innovation is now, standard, and you just are always evolving and shifting and changing. And That was, I think, one of the hardest things as an entrepreneur to really adapt to, is that you think you're just going to start a business and it's just going to go on a track and that's the end of that. And it's never like that. There's always a new challenge. And so what it's doing for us now is like, all right, well, we can't make our beautiful products and ship them the way we used to, and the overhead is higher. Let's focus on our more local markets, and let's focus on international that doesn't have these boundaries. And let's then work on more of our digital products, our digital side of things, our community at Yummy Doctor. Let's focus what we already have built. Let's make sure that's really strong, and create more digital products, and that's still worldwide, that still can include our American friends, and that's what we've decided. And we're still innovating. Lots of new product ideas are coming to me, and things like we just did a new eye drop. It hasn't even come out yet. I have eye drops already that are 20 and 40%. However, I don't have eye drops that are colloidal silver with DMSO. These other ones are in saline solution. This is a blend and is very safe for animals' eyes as well as humans, because I have a 15%, which is the mild, and a 30% DMSO solution, which is the strong. And I really like that. We have all of those different percentages now coming, and also with the addition of colloidal silver, and it can really do wonders for cataracts in pets, and where they get the eye goop and things going on. It can clear that up very quickly. So we're still innovating, we're still inventing, but we really had to just pause a moment and look at the landscape, and invite the information, like, what's this asking us to do right now? As opposed to focusing on the evil ones and fighting them, because look, there's no fighting them directly.
Yeah,
It's more, they're too strong, there's too much there. But our power lies in what we give our energy to. And I refuse to give them any fuel. I refuse to give them any money, really, for the most part, through taxation, all that. And then let's just slowly move toward our people power and the areas in which we can continue to do business, we can continue to communicate. That's not overseen by the overlords.
exactly. And I think this is what life's about. I mean, when we think about it, every species, apart from humans, this is their life. They have to adapt, they have to get that resilience, they have to shift, and they have to work it out on their own. So, in some respects, even though it's very galling and very frustrating, sometimes, like a lot of the where we're seeing with health issues, a lot of people don't make changes until it gets really late in the day and something really drastic happens. The same with us. It can push us into the next level of creativity, which can be a real positive, even though it's bloody annoying. But
Yeah.
one of the things I wanted to also ask you is, I think it's really important for people to realise, you're a mum as well to a human and some furry friends, and you've got all your work side of things. And I think, how do those two worlds shape where you are right here, right now? So everything's changing so fast, the rug's being pulled from our feet in some directions, opportunities are opening up others. With your sort of mum hat on, looking after yourself and your loved ones, I'd love to know, what do you think your most pressing priorities are at the moment, that's at the forefront of where you're putting most of your attention?
Well, for me, I've gone through some of my own challenges with, relationships, a lot of shifting, and a lot of grief has come up. And what I realized is I wasn't, because when you have multiple shocks happen in your life, you lose a lot of your perspectives, you lose a lot of your ability to kind of get out of your own self, to see what you need, to see how you can fix it. And it was interesting to be in that scenario, because I normally know exactly what to do, how to get, I'm very functional like that, but this put me flat out. And I was like, just in that sort of like a stewing, toiling moment. And I finally got to a place where I I released a lot. I did change and release a lot. I think I got to the point where I released enough that I could start to make these little changes again for my own well-being and then lift myself out of this like pit of despair that I found myself in. And even going through it, I knew that there's a purpose to it. There's a reason. Like, I'm going to figure out eventually what it all means, what it's going to do for my benefit. Even as I was suffering, I also knew that because my particular path tends to go very extreme. Like I'll have a pendulum swing of an experience where I experience, the positive prong and then the negative prong, and then I figure out a neutral and off to my next experience. So I did know that part. It didn't make it really feel any better per se, but I did know that all things end at some point, and this too will change and end. And so now I'm making sure that my own emotional self-care is priority. I know that if I'm not physically strong, emotionally strong, prioritizing what my eating habits, my lifestyle habits, if I don't do that, I can't really be present for my business. I can't really be present for my child. I don't really have enough energy for my pets. I can't even feed my plants on time. Like I walk by my plants and they're like, help,
Yeah.
right? So I know that, and it's fine to say it. It's one thing to say it. It's another to live it and then understand it from that lived experience and put that into practice. Because I knew it from that level. Like, yes, of course you prioritize yourself. Yes, naturally. But then I fell hard and was flat out in that way, and I was like, whoa, okay, this comes from years of not prioritizing myself. This is like constant people pleasing and othering and not making sure that what I'm doing is secure. Like the people that I was allowing into my life were manipulating me and using me, and I thought that they just liked me and that's why they were hanging around me. And so there was a lot of awakening, another layer of awakening that happened for me there. But that's it now. Like I see someone once a week so I can not just speak about, I really don't feel like it's that helpful to speak your story over and over again. I actually think it reinforces it in a bad way. So what we do is I'll speak to what I think the theme is or the energies or things that have come up for the week. And then we do a whole body scan and we release it from some limited belief idea, why did this word come up per se? Why did I choose to describe things with these specific words? And then I go deeper with those specific words. Where did that come from? And sometimes we go back into like family lineage stuff or wherever it's sitting in my body, we breathe through it. Whatever it is, there's a somatic component, and it's really important to release it and move through it and not overthink it, not toil in the thought over and over again. And I was very much in overthinking. I was very much in rumination and toiling for a good while, because it was such a psychological slap that I was trying to intellectually piece it all together, how it could have all happened and everything. And there's worth to that. It was a good process. And now I'm finished with that. And now let's get it out of my physical body and remember my divine self and what I'm here to do, and not who wants to carry bitterness and any of that resentment energy that's going to drain you. So you have to do a forgiveness work and a release work there, and then you have your energy back. So I'm just focusing on that. And if I feel low, I come first. I'm like, nope, I have to nourish today. I have to take a sauna today. I have to go for a walk today, And then usually when I come back, or I have to go shovel snow.
Yeah, lots of it. Yeah.
Self-care.
Yeah.
I have to go shovel some snow, but you do get a good workout. So come in all sweaty. That's good. And then I can get some work done. And then when I feel that is done, I don't do what I used to do. Push, push, push. Like it's done for today. So it is what it is. Now I'm going to go brush my cats, play with the cats, look at food. I love making food and I lost that love through that process. So it's like I'm finding it again. And I bought like sourdough whole starter kit. So that's going to be one of my projects. I started crocheting again. I didn't even realize when I was with this not good situation relationship, I stopped doing all the things I loved.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize it. I stopped crocheting. I love crocheting. Why did I stop? I stopped cooking the way I like to or inventing things that I love to invent. I stopped, my creativity just dried right up. So when you take care of your soul like that, you have more energy and you have more creativity to create and to offer things, not from a tapped out, burnt out place. Which, when I was doing it from that place, the things I was creating weren't that great. Like, they weren't godly. They were like meh, And I'm like, what's the point of that? Why would I create like that? And it's not from a perfectionist thing. It's from a that's not good enough thing. So something's off energetically. But when you get right like that, it's the way. It's the way to do it with joy, and joy
Yeah.
can return. Yeah.
And there's so many
Um,
important points that you've raised there, because in the modern Instagram or TikTok or whatever platform you happen to be your favorite, um, there's so many things that are thrown out there saying like self-care, but most people really don't understand what that means. And most importantly, don't really understand how important it is to, just as you've expressed, everything else that you're going to be interacting with and giving to yourself and other people and contributing. And it's all very well sitting there and criticizing these ridiculous parasites that are put up on the stage that are supposedly making decisions for us all. But actually, sometimes that can be a displacement behavior because we're not addressing how we're showing up in the world and what we're contributing.
yeah, I feel like there's a lot of blame or a lot, and in the internet anyway. I'm kind of glad that I'm not
Mm.
allowed because AI has ruined it for the most part. And what you realize when you do a detox from social media or from just all of it, okay? When you just connect with nature and reality around you, when it's almost like the same sensation I used to have when, because I never watched television. So sometimes I'd go home, my parents had the TV on. I hadn't watched TV in like a long time. And then you see it again, and you're like, the dramas are still the same boring soap operas, essentially, just
Yeah.
rehashed or like different clothing and hairstyles. And then the commercials are still the same bullshit. And you just see what kind of a tunnel vision trap it is. And internet now is becoming much more like that. You're being funneled into information. When it first came out, it was incredible. You could
Mm.
find anything you wanted. It was vast, it was expansive, and you could go in so many directions. Now it's very tunnel visioned. They have erased so much good content. I still will go back on old links and things and they're gone.
Yeah, same here.
They're
So
killing the
frustrating.
internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which means then we have to create our own databases, keep and store information that we think are valuable. I've been downloading books like crazy, and don't rely, just what I've learned with getting, erased there. Your internet could be erased too one day. Like, don't bank on your everything. Don't put all your eggs in one basket as far as that goes. And really don't self isolate
Mm.
in your community. You have to somehow engage with people. They're making us asocial on purpose. And, it started again with the whole pandemic, isolating us into our homes. Trying to create new crises all over the place to do the same. So it's too scary to go outside. It's too scary to travel. It's too scary
Yeah.
everywhere. And now they're going to keep us, how in 1984, like they have the little screen
Mm.
and they're telling you about the war. And there's no war, but you think there's a war because they brought it to the screen in your face. And you have no way of corroborating that because everyone else believes the same thing. And that's kind of like what's happening, right? People have, and depending on what pile of garbage you want to, listen to, right or left, you're still going to get misinformation on both sides. and they're pitting everyone against one another because they like the chaos, and that's how they can get away with a lot of things. And so people are like, what do we do? What do we do? How do we stop them? I'm like, well, stop feeding them, stop entertaining them, stop listening to them. Right? Imagine if no one listened to any of their new laws or rules and just nobody did it. What are they going to do with that many people? How are they going to
Completely.
police it exactly?
I mean, I've
They
found
wouldn't.
that's such a good point because so I can't even remember what the exact thing was, but because I'm deaf as a post and I'm now driving a really old car, when I'm driving along, I wear my headphones so that I can play whatever podcast I'm listening to into my headphones and hear the sat nav properly. And I was driving with someone, and someone said, "You do realise it's illegal to drive with headphones on? I mean, you can still hear a siren coming up behind you, fine." And I was like, "No, I didn't realise it's illegal to drive with headphones on. I mean, I've driven past loads of police cars, no one's ever stopped me. But this is what I mean, is there's so many things that we're told that's happening that might or might not be happening. I mean, when we had the COVID lockdown protests and they're reporting on the news at 200 or 300 people there, and I was like, no, I was there. There were only over 1 million of us, and we were just talking before we started about the 15-minute cities, and they're saying about Oxford is going ahead, and I'm like, well, let's see. It might well be, but equally, it didn't get very far last time because they pulled down all the cameras and chucked them down the trains. So let's see. And I think it's very, very interesting. I've got a second cousin in Australia, and she sends me the news that they get told about the UK and Australia, and I'm like, nope, no one we haven't heard any of that. So it's some of it is true, but equally we've got to be very careful that it's not a 1984 and being made to believe that it's so much worse than it actually is. It's a balance, isn't it?
And really, it comes down to our inner work of wrangling out that ego and knowing the
Mm.
self and knowing your drives and what you're trying to do. Because what's happened is now everybody's online, everybody's making podcasts, everybody's talking. And a lot of it is misinformed, ill informed, or AI based or whatever. And so it's becoming even tougher to know what's real and not real
Yeah.
because of the flood of that. And without having proper reporting and also with different biases, right? Like I saw one, it was just a post about how they were trying 15-minute cities and everyone got angry, and then Keir Starmer backed up and like said, okay, fine, like we're not going to do it. It's not going to be mandatory. Okay, because everyone got triggered by him saying that you have to, right? Okay, so then soon after, I see this a bunch of different presenters saying, well, that's not, they just lied and they're going ahead with it anyway. They're doing it anyway behind the scenes. And so then you're like, okay, are they stopping it? Are they starting it? Are they like, what is actually going on? And then you ask people there and they like, do they know because they're not shown? Like, do they not know because they're not shown it? Or do they know it because they're living and they don't see
Yeah.
it? Like, it's so hard to actually know the truth now, which I think that's the smokescreen with AI. They really want to question our own eyes and to doubt what we're seeing. Everything we see is, and it's incredible that people cannot see AI. It is
Oh,
really,
yeah.
there's a blindness there for sure.
Yeah.
Like you have to, like, I mean, the mouths give it away most of the time, even with the good stuff,
Mm.
but it will get to the point where you're not sure. And then you
Yeah.
start to make mistakes, and then you're going to doubt yourself. And that's why I think it's over as far as like the internet as we know it is kind of over. This mindless scrolling thing is just not it. And people are becoming exhausted from it too. They're missing connection. They're lonely too much. There are like cafes coming back that are, Wi-Fi free or
Yeah.
tech free, where you actually pick up a book and read it, or have a coffee and just actually talk with someone and make eye contact.
Yeah.
And I think that's the future. I think the trends are going to end of this type of living, where it's not going to satisfy us, and how they want us to be also is not going to satisfy us. Like
Mm.
living in a meta universe that's, all programmed nonsense and like living in that bubble. I don't think that's very sustainable for mental health and event. So people will either expire because of it or they'll leave it. And so it's not sustainable in either direction. So that's what I kind of envision anyway.
Yeah. And I think it's about going back to some common sense in terms of just questioning. I mean, you and I, we just love asking questions because the fact of the matter is that there's so many scenarios that can be true. So, like the digital ID that you were talking about, that Keir Starmer said was going to be compulsory and then went back. I think the confusion is what people think digital ID is. So initially, a lot of people thought it was just this brick card that you'd have to have, but that's just one tiny bit of it. Well, of course, what they don't realise is actually we've all been having to submit our returns online, your health data to get on the internet. There's so many things, internet banking that virtually everyone relies on now. So this is a lot of misunderstanding and misinformation out there on both sides. And for me, when I look at it, I mean, I'm going to go and look in Oxford myself and see what's happening. But one of my first things I see is how much am I allowed to use cash still, is one of the key things. So I won't go somewhere now that won't accept cash. And these little things in your daily, you've got to speak to your community and find out people that have got different perspectives to you. So that leads me on to the sort of mind control and the fear programming. I mean, you've studied so many different areas, Amanda. You've been at the cutting edge of a lot of dismissing health myths and other areas of sovereignty living. What have you learned that you'd like to share with people about how pervasive the mind control and the programming is within the population, and why people find it so difficult to think that most people think, yeah, that happens to everyone else, but not me.
It's really just self-development and really overcoming the ego drives, right? And so ultimately, if everyone just began to look inward
Mm.
rather than continually outward, even if for a little amount of time of the day, it would make a very big difference. Because when you start to shift things from an internal source, when you're fueling it from the inside out, oops, my mic. So when you're fueling it from the inside out, you are feeding your holographic projection, like say you're like a light projector. When you fuel inside, then you're fueling outside. When you're focused outside constantly, that's actually considered magic. So magic is manipulating the external projection. And it's very time and energy heavy. And it's very focused on the brain only, only on the senses of the thought, rather than the heart, rather than the gut, rather than the whole system, rather than the biofield. And so if people can just realize that we're intimate with our whole world through our self connection, and that if you want things to go well for yourself and for your life, because everybody ultimately does want that,
Yeah.
the real work is fueling the inner self. And I know it can sound abstract, but it really is very simple. It's closing your eyes and just sitting and not doing anything for a bit, right? You don't have to even have a technique. You just stop, right? Close your eyes and just stop and sit. You don't lay down to sleep, you just sit. And in quiet, having moments just that are peaceful, just like taking a tea, sitting outside in your garden and just sipping the tea to just sip the tea. Or when you wash the dishes, I'm going to wash the dishes to finish them. No, just wash. I'm present with my dishes. I'm washing the dish in order to do this movement. I'm just doing this movement. There's not a goal at the end. I'm not living in the future, right? Just that presence can make a huge shift to how much fuel and light you're generating inside yourself. Then you go into prayer. Mm-hmm. So that is just getting into like centeredness, nowness. But then after that, you go into simple prayer. And that's really just with a voice or not with a voice, with just your mind or just your heart, however you like to do it. I like to speak it. I think it's just more clear. And just request, just say, hey, I'm really struggling with this right now. I'd really like to be offered a solution if you wouldn't mind, and it doesn't matter your beliefs. It could be God, it could be Jesus, it could be Buddha. It doesn't matter what that your ancestors, your guides, whatever, okay? Just ask and then be okay with what comes back and pings back and start to hone your intuition. Like my daughter just recently did a course with Edith Chan. It's called the Luminous Kids Program, and it's blindfold
Oh,
training.
yes, brilliant.
I mean, within a day, not even, she was already seeing with her third eye, just being blindfolded,
Mm.
being shown objects, and she could see them with her third eye. If that's possible, anything is possible, okay?
Mm.
We have unused parts of ourselves. And I think that when we create this mess out there, it's it's an attempt to force us to go inside and do this. We want to overcome. We want to enjoy our lives. We want joy, we want freedom, we want health, we want all these things. That's the work. And that's how you'll achieve that transformation and that manifestation. And then when you're clear in here, then outside becomes clear as a result of that. All this manipulation out here is make work projects. They're not going to get you where you need to be. And you're not going to light up your path very clear as well.
Mm.
People who have near death experiences. I've watched like thousands and thousands of videos and read all these books on it stuff because I was so fascinated about what happens when we pass away. And they all say the same stuff mostly. And they say that everything is already fine. We are love, we are infinite, we don't actually die, we just go home. And this is a choice to come here. We come here to play a game of forgetfulness and for specific reasons, for our soul development and growth, right? And there's not really a right and wrong the way that we see it here. And we don't even
Yeah.
have time. Time doesn't even work in a linear way when we're home. All things are all things, which we can't even conceive of in this limited form. And knowing that really helped me just let go of what I thought my ego wanted in this world, like, got to get this got right. Because if we think it's linear and it's limited, then we think that's it, one life to live. Better do whatever ruthless thing it takes to get it done. It doesn't have to be like that. It's more those who are pleased when they go home are the ones that have lived their life with the intention of doing what they were here to do, what they came to do here. That was the most satisfying. And it didn't even have to be so monumental. They didn't have to win awards. They didn't have to do anything. It could have been, a meeting that they said something to someone and it changed their whole world. And they didn't even know what they said did that. They didn't even
Yeah.
have to have the consequence of like hearing about it. That's it. Or just walking down the sidewalk and like petting a dog
Mm.
with a pure heart. That energy ripple shifted so many things, but they didn't know what they did. You only know when you go home, you get your life review and you're like, oh. And that's very valuable. That was very valuable for me, just to wade through the dark times, right? And know that everything's still okay, even in the muck, and that we go into the dark to have that dichotomy. And then it's always going to be new, and it's always going to be turning, and it's always going to be the next thing. And that's okay. It's okay where you are right now, and that will change. And so honor it where you are, accept where you are. And so that's the practice of like trying to be present as much as possible, because then you're not stuck in past, future scenarios, which are painful, really. It's kind of a place of suffering to stay there. And as we get older and we have more memories, it's easier to get pulled into the past and
Yeah.
ruminate on things that happened and stuff, right? Like we see a lot of elders very stuck
Mm.
in that energy. And so I just feel like all the things going on, if people just wrangled the ego that wants to project this future and wants these things, that we'd all be transforming this place very quickly with our own power and with our own ripple effect that comes from our light being, our light body.
I couldn't agree more. So many things I want to ask you about that, but one of the things that leads on for that I was going to ask you about is the sort of whole terrain versus germ theory. Now, let me frame this in terms of what you were just talking about there. I think it's so important about where you are right here, right now. How important are you feeling those sort of discussions are? In terms of the bigger scale of how people live their life. And just to sort of frame it a little bit more, um, they're fascinating discussions, and they can be, from my perspective, can be hugely impactful to the decisions that people make to live their life. But on the other side of things, I've seen it cause so much division and ego of, if people believe one thing and they're not 100% down that one route, then everything else is thrown out with the bathwater. So where are you at with these sort of really important discussions, or are they anymore?
I think they're important in a grand context. However, what we see are things, life moves in like an in breath and out breath constantly, or like waves against the shore. So there'll be trends of moments which are pulsating that way, and then it'll retreat a little, then it'll come again, and so forth. And I think the important part is not to force or push anything. And as you go along, you begin to understand there's so many different perspectives and there's so many different realities. My spiritual teacher used to say there are many worlds within the world, and not all those worlds need to be your business. And if people want to believe certain things or do certain things, unless you're really invited into shifting, or you feel a true inspiration and calling to say publicly, display information, and those people could potentially find it. Otherwise, it's meddling. And you can also spiritually shock people if you bring them up into concepts too quickly. And I think that's actually happening right now with people. There's a very quick mass waking up going on, which can very much destabilize someone's sense of self, their sense of location, of like who they are and what they're doing. It can be very profound and very wonderful, or it could go in not a good direction where they just want to leave. They don't want to be here because they can't integrate
Yeah.
properly, or they don't have support networks or whatever. And so really it's just how I see it is, if I'm invited, and then we'll do it. Like if someone comes into my private community and they start talking germ theory stuff, then I'm going to correct that,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
right, there's a permissions, there's a contract kind of there. But if I don't know, if I'm out at the post office or something, and they start talking about a virus, like, oh yeah, okay, have a nice day, or I might say something, well, I believe differently, but that's okay. I've really had to learn to temper a lot of that, because I did come hot and heavy as a Leo female. I would come very hot and masculine, almost like, no, that's wrong, and truth is more important than anything. And like, when I was growing up and going through all my phases and stages, I was really like blunt and,
Mm.
here's where it's at. And that's, take it or leave it, like me or don't. But now it's like, well, if people believe something strong enough, it could actually work for them. Like
Yes.
who, there are people who go through the conventional medical system and they love it and they do fine and they
Yeah.
might survive it, right? And okay, so that, like, who am I to burst their bubble with that, if that's going to work for them and however it works for them, right?
Mm.
It's not my circus, not my monkeys. But then there are people who are like crying about it or
Mm.
suffering about it or toiling about it. And that's where I feel, okay, I can help those people, by helping them understand that that system is not really for everybody, and that there's limitations, especially when it comes to chronic disease, and that a lot of what's happened because of that system has caused said chronic diseases, right? And we can work that out gently for them to come around to oh, we're really terrain, our terrain is really primary. Germ theory isn't really it. There's big faults there. There's lots of pseudoscience backing up the
Yeah.
theory, right? And then they can come to it in their own time with different experiences, right? Like usually one time they'll have something they think is, let's say a rash or something, they think they have caught, you know.
Mm.
You can walk them through a process of cleansing, for example, and they'll clear it. And I'm like, oh, so I didn't have to kill anything. I didn't have to go killing. I could just cleanse and everything rebalanced itself. Okay, cool, right? And that's like one layer of awakening for them. And it's just everyone coming to it in their own awareness. And so I just sort of stepped back a lot more and letting it be a little more gentle, a little more
Yeah.
tempered. I think turning 50 changed that for me because,
I agree. I think
you
I've
know,
changed, I've mellowed. Yeah.
yeah, there's a mellowing on one aspect and a
But
new fierceness
yeah,
on another. Like I definitely have better boundaries. I definitely like I put up with no bullshit now. Like when I do want to put my foot down, we're putting it down. Like I say no to a lot more than I used to say. That's for sure. And and when something's nonsense in my life, nonsense, no, it's not allowed anymore. So that's a good thing. And
absolutely.
then, but also, yeah, I enjoy the slowness more, and I don't feel responsible for all the world's feelings and all the I don't feel responsible for that anymore. So that's a big relief as well. And that was probably one of my last really big ego chips. You know, you work on the ego forever. It doesn't really totally end. It's just it's always a thing that's happening. And I think I had a little ego piece where I felt responsible for everything and everything that's happening and the whole of the all of it because in my thinking as like a holographic being, you know, with the once I learned Ho'oponopono, where you can
Yeah.
actually like, yeah, I'm like, holy shit. And also I had my Kundalini awakening. I'm like, oh my God, we're all the things. Like we're everything and nothing. Like how is this paradox? But we are like, I think that, you know, took a responsibility part of me where somehow I thought, I'm responsible somewhere in this, right?
Mm.
Or where does my responsibility lie? And so when something bad happened, I felt it as if it happened to me
Yeah.
personally. And so, you know, and now I'm like, okay, wait a second. That's not really, is it, okay, first of all, it's definitely not serving me. But secondly, is it really serving the all to do that anyway? You
Mm.
know? And I kind of came to the conclusion that I don't think it is. And I can still have compassion. I can still, you know, weep at something, at a loss of someone I don't even know or whatever, but I don't have to make it my responsibility to fix it or to like make it better or go on a campaign about it or whatever, you know, because a lot of my habit was spreading myself out thin, doing too much, taking care of too many
Really.
people like this. And that's where I think it came from. So, you know, we get new insights as we grow and we never stop growing. We don't ever arrive into
Mm.
that one place, you know. And I kind of am, I'm liking, once past a lot of the symptoms of menopause, I kind of like, I kind of like it now as I'm going into it more. Like I was very resistant at first, like with the hot flashes and stuff, but now I'm like, no, this is my power. This is like a new me in my own seat of my own power. And I can, just like teen years are uncomfortable
Yeah.
as you're figuring yourself out. It's like a new teen era
Yeah.
where you're figuring yourself out again, you know? And so that's okay. That means it will end and it will be cool after when that's done. So I'll look
Oh
forward to
yeah,
that.
it's
Yeah.
it's fun. It's a relief, I can tell you. So, I mean, it's a one of the things that I've finding. I'd love to know your opinion on if people are watching this and they're starting to really question your health, and some key starting points, because we know that there's some mistakes. But fun enough, my cat's just jumped up here too. Pumpkin's here. Um,
Yep,
you know,
it's
for
time.
example, people can detox too aggressively. I remember the first time I did that and cause issues. But equally, they can jump on one bandwagon. One of my bandwagons at the moment is everyone on every social media, oh, just feed your dog or cat raw and every problem they've ever had will disappear. You know, life doesn't work like that. It's never just one thing. So if people are watching this and they're like, I'm really ready to change and take more responsibility for my health, what are some of the basics that you keep coming back to tell people to work on?
And interesting question because me and my social media team currently have been creating posts like answering this question. So it's
Oh,
kind of funny.
cool.
Um, well, because like what we've done is like really we're thinking about where does it matter for people and also knowing that many are overwhelmed and big protocols like I tend to make big protocols and big big courses and stuff and we also want to help people just where to start or like what can they do that's not overwhelming for them and ultimately, it comes down to the little things, the little
Yeah.
habits. As much as you think, oh, I'm going to get my whole life in shape and I'm going to, like, New Year's comes around, everyone has a resolution, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go to the gym and I bought a membership, and they make these big, grand gestures and grand ideas. And they kind of set themselves up for disappointment because you might have the motivation at the beginning for a little while. Eventually that does fade, but then what happens is you get a negative feedback and you feel maybe defeated or you're judging yourself. You might get some negative self-talk from that. So did it really serve you to make the grand gesture?
Mm.
Unless you can dedicate to it, then that's one thing. But most just fizzle out and then start making excuses and everything. So the real thing is looking at your lifestyle. I actually have a course for this specifically. It's called the self-reflection course. It's a self-assessment course rather. And so you're assessing and you're just
Mm.
like, okay, let's look around, where are these little things that I do, most people know the things they're doing that probably aren't the best, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I drink too much coffee, or for sure I doom scroll too late at night and I'm not getting enough sleep, or I'm not drinking enough water,
Mm.
or I know I'm eating fast food too many times a week. There's always something that people, if you ask them, they
Mm.
know what's not really on the up and up. And so tackle one of those.
Mm.
Just start with one thing because see, to build a new habit is really just building new actions over and over and over, right? A new action that you do repeatedly.
Mm.
And so if you repeatedly start to go to bed an hour earlier each night until you get to the sweet spot, which should be around 9 o'clock ultimately for your circadian rhythm health, then what you find, or what I found in doing that shift, is sure, I might get up 3, 4, 5 in the morning, but I went to bed at 9. So that's 6, 7, 8 hours. And then I'm up before the dawn, having my own time in the dark, which I like.
Mm.
Maybe I write, maybe I just stretch, maybe I just, do have a beverage, whatever. And no rush in the morning to get ready to do. I have my own time. And so you're just shifting how your habits are. And I find I have a nicer morning. I get more things done, and by the time breakfast rolls around, I'm not just crawling out, get me coffee and like, right, or groggy. I'm ready for the day. So, that's one habit. It's just these little actions like, okay, today I'm going to do a little bit less on my phone.
Mm.
I'm going to go for a walk instead, you know, something simple, not such a big grand gesture. Like, oh, I know that I should, organize that cupboard. There's actually a TikTok account. I think it's called How Long Did That Take Me or something. And it's a woman. I kind of like her. She's kind of quirky. She wears these sunglasses and she's like, well, this person has been putting off cleaning out their cupboard for like a year and a half. So let's do it now and
Yeah.
see how long it actually takes us. And it takes like 20 minutes or
I
something.
know. Oh, I love it. I love it. I think we can all think of things like that have been on the list to do for a year or more, and we still haven't done it. Yeah.
So just pick one and just make it fun. Don't make it a
Mm.
thing like, oh, it's on my list to do. It has to be done perfect. Like, no, it doesn't. But you do need to just try to complete it
Yes.
because that can spell disaster if you if you overdo it, like I'm gonna clean the whole kitchen. I'm gonna
Mm.
clean it all out, and then you're halfway done and you can't go on, and then you have a mess. Like you don't want that either. So, and do it if you have kids, do it together. Like my daughter and I will do things together and
Yeah.
invite your children to help you with it. It may take you 10 minutes longer or something, but they get a value for themselves. They see how things are done. I really have learned that, a lot of our generation I have cat hair all over my face now.
I know. Me too. Got to show everyone my beloved pumpkin sitting there. That was my
Pumpkin.
notes, Amanda. So every
Nice.
time I
Bye
write
bye
notes for an
notes. Yeah.
interview, Pumpkin decides I'm not going to use them. Yeah.
Pumpkins like use your intuition,
Yeah.
Catherine.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, she's gone now. Okay. Now I'm very hairy. She's due for a brush.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they're starting to shed already. It's interesting. As soon as February starts, everything changes.
My
Even though it's
horses
snow
are.
everywhere and it's
Yeah.
cold, they start.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my turkeys are off mating now, too. They're all mating now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So babies for the spring. I look
Cool.
forward to
Cool.
that
Cool.
time.
Cool.
So I guess what I'm saying with children, what I was saying is one thing I realized is that in talking with other teens now, like my children's friends and and some of my friends too, that we didn't always get taught things. Like I was kind of surprised. Like I'm like the things that I'm teaching my daughter, I'm going, I was never taught that. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I was coming to this, like, as a parent, you go through this whole other thing, right? And I'm like, wait a second. I was like, I wasn't taught what I just taught my daughter. I mean, okay, like, how did I learn this? I had to learn on my own. I'd learned a lot of things on my own. I was kind of just shoved outside for the day,
Yeah.
right? I kind of had to figure it out. My dad probably was the one to train me the most because I started working when I was like 8 years old. So I knew early about money and business and stuff from a child. But like I know, and then my mom was good at like I had to do laundry and I
Mm.
had to do dishes and like the cleaning and stuff. I think she did a really good job there of teaching me that stuff. But then there's just stuff about my body and stuff about like there's things maybe they were taboo to
Yeah. We
talk
didn't
about
get
that
taught
stuff.
anything, did we? Nothing.
No, I didn't
No.
know any of that stuff. Like it was
Mm.
always a surprise. My daughter knows everything. She even knows what menopause is going to look like.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what menopause is going to look like even in menopause. So like it's amazing that to see the difference and how capable she is with all of these things and how I've shown her as I've gone along because I invited her to be part of the things that I'm doing,
Mm.
right? Like today we had to go shovel a lot of snow.
Mm.
And I'm like, You're helping." So she's outside and she's a teen, so she still doesn't know quite how to dress herself. And I'm like, "Oh, this is interesting. Pajama pants, thin pajama pants, minus like
Oh.
24
Oh.
Celsius.
Yeah.
So thin pajama pants, boots that aren't done up so they're kind of open, right, to get all the snow in, fingerless gloves,
Oh my God.
no hat. It's snowing, no hat, hair out, and her jacket loose. And I'm like, "Girl, you ain't gonna last too long out here like that." She's like, "Yeah, I kind of see that now." I'm like, "Good.
Mm.
Yeah, look how I'm dressed."
Yeah.
Right? It's just so funny. But now she has that experience. She's like, "Well, that wasn't sustainable. I couldn't go out and shovel for more than 5 minutes with my fingers hanging out like
Mm.
that." She's got that muscle memory in her now. And she's amazing at cleaning out the fridge. She's
Mm.
great at she loves doing stuff like that. I'm like, "Fridge clean out time," and she knows how to what to throw out and everything. And
Yeah.
and she's 14. So she can run, she lives in her own little space now. She can run everything herself. She knows how to manage her dishes. She knows how to cook. There are 16, 17-year-olds that don't know how to cook,
I couldn't
you
believe
know?
it.
They
I
don't
mean,
know how to prepare food.
yeah, my children knew how to cook, how to do the washing, all sorts of things. In fact, quite honestly, they've always been a lot more capable than my husband and I. My dad did a good job at teaching us practical stuff, but I forgot a lot of it.
That's
I
good.
probably could have done it, but there was someone else to do it. I let them do it. But he did
There
teach
you
us,
go.
before we learned to drive, we had to learn how to check the oil, how to check the water, how to check the tires, how to change a tire, etc. So I can do all of that if I need to. And I think this is so important. And when I hear you talking about the snow that you guys have got, and I'm fussing over my animals here in the temperature we've got here, which is nothing like as extreme as yours. It's a reminder about how resilient nature is, how resilient we are. And I think sometimes we forget that, and we don't need, for me, the best exercise is getting out, shoveling your snow, chopping your wood, looking after your animals, tending your garden. Trumps going to the gym every time because that's what we're
Yeah.
designed to do.
Oh, my hamstrings get a great workout when I'm gardening, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
I think the biggest thing as we get older is not to injure ourselves and just to make sure before we're going to do heavy labor of any sort, because gardening is heavy labor, I'm sorry,
yeah,
it just um, is to just hydrate and stretch before you go out. And I find if I do that, I'm less likely to pull my back. I have a tendency to pull out one of my upper SI joints just from an old injury when I used to tree plant and carry all this weight on my
mm,
hips. And then maybe childbirth kind of
mm.
exacerbated it and so forth. But or even I'll put DMSO magnesium on my back first
Yes.
before I go out. And then when I come back in, which I'm sweaty at that point, I'll just take homeopathic arnica just so I recover more quickly, and then ensure I'm drinking some good electrolytes. And I feel fine. I don't get triggered into any pain syndromes and things like that. Because you get into it. Like when you garden, you just kind of get zen into it.
Oh,
At least I
completely.
do. If the bugs aren't
Yeah.
biting too badly, then I get right into it. And I want to do another one and another and another, and it kind of gets like that. So you get carried away and get dehydrated. So you got to pay attention. The good news is there's a lot of eating bugs here, and eventually they like chase you away. And
Yes,
you're like,
exactly.
okay, I got
They
an
tell you when
hour.
it's enough, just like pumpkin with nose. So,
Yeah.
I mean, so much I could talk with you about, Amanda. I love the fact that today that we haven't even discussed a lot of the global stuff going on. We've brought it right back more closer to home for people about how they can really concentrate on their more immediate selves and their immediate environment. But if you closing up, because I know we've been a while, what are any key messages you want to leave people is right now? Because there's so much fear mongering out there. There's so many things that are pulling people's attentions in so many different in so many different ways. I mean, I haven't even watched any of the stuff going on at Davos this year. I just not watching it. So, what do you want to leave people with? And also, most importantly, how can they connect in with your work and what can they expect from that if they join your private membership platform?
Yeah, well, we are focusing a lot on, like I said, putting more energy into the websites. We're also revamping a lot of the look and the style and everything. We're on our own private servers,
That's brilliant.
which it means it's a little more expensive, but it also means we have control and we can't be hacked or destroyed or anything. And we have a whole society we're actually building as well, including trading with gold, and like we're doing a whole thing. And that's not even fully launched. We just have like investors and things involved. And so there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I would say that, as much as we want to be worldly, or feel we want to be worldly, to just focus on what you can control or what you can bring your attention to and your energy and your love to in your life, because that's going to give strong foundations for anything that does come where you have to adapt to a very rapidly changing world. If you can get away from certain sort of zones that are not stable, if that's possible. Like if you're in cities and things that, is not really that sustainable. Then, and now if you can't due to monetary constraints, then, pool with others that you trust, like, build something together, find some way to do things together. Or there are some people like some kids, they're like, how are we ever going to afford homes and
Yeah.
properties and things? But that means you're thinking old thoughts. You're thinking like, and you don't want this, trust me. I live this. It's a lot of work to run a household by yourself,
Mm.
run a homestead, take care of all the needs of everybody and everything. It's a lot of work. It's best to think about what group do you trust, what group is going to work, you're going to work with, and where you could group buy something. You could buy land, you could create modular living conditions and homes. You could build an earthship, or you could build, a dome home or something, and you
Yeah.
could all have like a central shared space in your own governance. That's possible to do these things with, your own personal limited funding when you pool your funding together, just to make us think outside the box of how we can live through this next reset that's coming,
Mm.
right? And that it's supposed to always, after reset, there's a golden age. So look forward to that, and that it's never the end. The apocalypse is not, doesn't mean the end. It just means everything's being revealed, right? Right now we're seeing all the corruption, all the problems, all the things that are wrong. And that's good. It's good to see, to not be disillusioned, to see
Mm.
where the faults are, to see the problems. The trap is to stay stuck on the problem, or to grumble about the problem and not fix yourselves on solutions. And everything that I do is about solutions. I want to solve those issues. And my angle there, the main angle, as a, like, there's a whole society here outside of that jurisdiction as well, like a Turtle Island kind of concept, like from the law side of things. However, I'm trying to teach people the skill of doctoring yourself so
Yeah.
that you aren't as vulnerable in certain circumstances. You know how to handle certain circumstances without going into the beast system, right? Like it's still there if you need some emergency services or whatever. However, let's prevent that as much as possible, and let's know what to do under acute circumstances that can maybe prevent you from going down a path that ends poorly. Like, I've saved thousands of people's gallbladders and
Yeah.
appendixes, for example. They're very quick to take out organs that it's unnecessary to do so. And that's one of the things that I teach. That's what we talk about. Like, this is just one of many that we talk
Mm.
about, but just as an example, I have an entire member library that I'm continually growing. And the member library isn't just like a quick definition, there are entire protocols. There's like what to do in these circumstances, how to treat these things. And that eventually will turn into a gigantic book once I'm finished, because this is years and years in the
Yeah.
making. And then I do my live sessions on Sundays. And we might open up to some other lives, because what we're trying to do is have a live forum inside Yummy
Yeah.
Doctor instead of using Zoom and whatever. We're just trying to get away from all these other institutions as much as we can, make our own thing. And there's like, we have over 2,000 members now, and it's nice because it's almost run like a social media. You have your own page, and then you have your groups, and then you can, post in the main feed and the main group and that kind of stuff. And it's nice because we're starting to like interact more. And if you have a health issue or concern about whatever topic, it doesn't even have to be health, could be law, could be about where we live, like whatever, then you can post your question, and then all kinds of interaction can happen there. It doesn't just isn't just me or dependent on me. And once I have finished my 12 steps in the beta testing,
Mm.
but once I finish my 12 steps to doctoring yourself, then that will be foundational for creating those who know how to be more like coaches or
Yeah.
support teams for people who are just new to this, and they also want to take the 12 steps. And in one of the 12 steps is the grassroots outreach
Hmm.
in your own community, sitting with your community and taking them kind of through a modified version of the 12 steps, like how to identify illness, how to understand a holism, how to relate things like the eyes to the liver,
Hmm.
things that can make disease less complicated and more simplified. Because if you know principles, then you can always apply natural remedies to general overarched principles and still get results, like still get recovery without having to tinker with like biochemistry and stuff. And so that's really the goal, is to create more of this like grassroots style blooming of awareness and knowledge, and then have people who are more confident and experienced lead groups and teach others, and onward, because one person, the whole idea of like one icon, one person doing it
Exactly.
all, those days are over. And who, I don't really want that anyway. That's too much work and pressure on one person. It's not really feasible or
Yeah.
manageable long term. You see a lot of that social media where it's about their name and about
Yeah.
what they're doing, and like they want to handle and control it. And I think that's just another ego piece that, ultimately comes from the drive of wanting to be noticed, or wanting to be, have affection or have attention. And I think it comes from like childhood needs that weren't met. And
Mm.
that's, I'm not judging it. It just is like we all had some aspects of like wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard, right? But then you kind of graduate from those experiences and you go, wait a second, like, what do I really, like from my heart of hearts, what do I really want to build here? And if you want to build kind of a legacy, or you want to build something that will outlast you, but
Mm.
also like be of benefit ongoing to many people, then you really have to give it away. You have to give it, like you have to teach it as a standard practice of like what they would do with that would be practical for them, that could carry on generations. And that's really what I've been building with Yummy Doctor, is this way. This is how we can simplify health. This is how you can do things at home. This is how you can grow your own medicine.
Yeah.
This is how
That's
you
one of my
can
passions,
step.
is the growing
Yeah,
your own medicine. I love it for humans
yeah,
and for animals,
yeah.
absolutely wonderful. I love it, Amanda. So all your links will be below. Please check it out, everyone. For me, we are in a stage, we're in a time for really embracing and enjoying taking this responsibility back and not having to do it all on your own. This is what I love about what you're offering, is the communities, and everyone's got their little place in that, and no one has to do it all. And that's how societies thrive.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think the goal, one of their goals, the they, has been to isolate us
Yeah.
and make us feel alone, because that's the path to nihilism, and then we give up. What's the point, right? But there's a huge point to everything we're doing here, even if we don't realize it yet or right now. And those little things you can do in your life to make those energetic shifts can really help you get there and have a fulfillment that ultimately will be what your purpose is, what you're here to do, and that's the ultimate joy. And I wish that for everybody. So thank you very much, Catherine.
Thank you so much. So, everyone, all the ways that you can still connect with Amanda will be linked in the show notes and below. Please do. And thank you so much, Amanda. Such a pleasure speaking to you. And thank you to everyone who's listened along with us. Bye. I love hosting this podcast because it allows us all to explore those big questions, challenge our programming, and uncover the natural truths that truly empower us. But did you know my real passion's working one-on-one with animals and people, helping you or your animal cut through the noise, find the root cause of imbalances, stress, illnesses, or really just create a personalized plan that actually works for you. So whether you're here for your own healing, or you're a dedicated animal guardian wanting the very best for your dog, cat, horse, any four-legged or scaled or winged companion, I'm here for you both. I work with animals and humans, but I especially love helping the animals thrive. That is my real happy place. So my recharge and reset consultations and online courses are packed with practical tools, printable resources, lifelong access. And the main thing is you'll never feel alone on this journey. And they work. Just head over to my website and check out the testimonials. So if you're really ready to take action and not just listen, head over to catherineedwards.life, that's Catherine with the C and .life at the end, and explore my courses and consults. Or if you want to, book a free 15-minute chat to see if I can help, because it's really important we stop outsourcing our health, really look after our animal companions better than before, and start leading by example. Now back to the podcast. Thank you.